tropical southern shore of the Bay of Guanabara is Rio de Janeiro, capital and largest city of Brazil. It is superbly situated on the Atlantic Ocean, dominated by the renowned Sugarloaf Rock at the harbor entrance, perhaps the most famous landmark of any city in the world. The Sugarloaf is one of the finest points from which to view Rio. The summit is reached easily and comfortably by way of an alpine trolley. Small cars, suspended on cables, transport passengers from the ground to the top of the rock in a few minutes, unfolding a continuous panorama of towering mountain peaks which rise more than 3,000 feet above the sea and make the great Latin American city one of the most beautiful in the world. From the top of the rock, the great city is seen in its entirety. To the left, the Atlantic Ocean breaks upon the sands of the beautiful Copacabana beach. The better residential sections cluster about the bases of the mountains in the shadow of Corcovado, a dominating pinnacle rising above Botafogo Bay, and surmounted by the gigantic stone figure of the Christ. The residential area stretches on to the right until it meets the modern downtown section of skyscrapers and public buildings. Rio de Janeiro, once jewel of Portugal's colonial kingdom, then for 67 years imperial capital of an independent empire, is today seat of the government of Brazil, a country the area of which is greater than the 48 United States of America and the fourth largest country in the world. Rio is fast developing into one of the greatest of seaports. Its piers and warehouses stretch along a harbor whose 30 square miles can accommodate any ship that floats and make even the world's largest liner appear like a toy boat in a pond. The peninsula upon which was once built the entire city is today the downtown business area. Castle Hill, where the foundation stone of Rio was laid in 1567, rose from the center of this area, but to make room for city improvements, it was leveled. In the distance can be seen the always prominent Sugarloaf Rock. Within the downtown district are parks, which in the tropical climate always present pleasing green appearances. Paris Park, bordering the bay, is the largest. One of the show spots of Rio is the celebrated Mangue Canal, lined with 4 rows of towering royal palms. The canal was constructed mainly to drain away tropical rains and lessen the breeding of mosquitoes, and also as a waterway for the transportation of produce. For practical reasons, it was never completed as planned, but is preserved as a beautifying asset of the city. There are numerous other palm-lined avenues in Rio. Notably among them is the Rua Pesando, bordered with 199 slender giants. It leads from the Botafogo Bay to the Isabella Palace, a mansion used as a residence for distinguished guests of the government. Among Rio's modern improvements was the demolition of 638 houses and the completion within 6 months of the superb Avenida Rio Branco. The tree-lined avenue divides the business district and is the main thoroughfare of the city. It is the pride of the Brazilians and presents a picture of busy activity from early morning until late at night. Intersecting the Avenida Rio Branco is the renowned Rua do Ubidor, said to be the most famous street in South America and one of the most noted in the world. It is less than 1/2 mile long and not 10 feet wide from curb to curb, and through it no wheeled vehicles are allowed. It is a shopping street which caters to elegant and expensive tastes, and it is claimed no finer articles than from the fashionable shops of the Ubidor can be found anywhere in the world. Through the Avenida Rio Branco, no commercial vehicles, save buses and taxis, are permitted after 4 p.m. The avenue is a favorite promenade of the Brazilians. There is an old law that prohibits one walking in the street without a coat, and though it is not enforced, passengers are forbidden to ride in first-class tram cars without collar and tie, shoes and socks. Persons not properly attired must ride in second-class cars to the rear. Near the end of the Avenida, fronting upon a small park, is the Municipal Theater and Grand Opera House, which was built at a cost of over $5 million. Facing upon the park are also a group of tall buildings, motion picture houses and cafes, an amusement block called Cinelandia. At the end of the square is Monroe Palace, in honor of the 5th President of the United States, James Monroe, whose doctrine so strongly manifested the friendly attitude of the United States toward Brazil and all South American countries. Before it, as in other parts of the city, are black and white mosaic pavements, copies of the sidewalks of Lisbon in Portugal. They are not only pleasing but durable, for the first paving stones came from England over 75 years ago, and many of them are still in use today. The city is lavishly embellished with monuments and statues. Surrounded by 4 Aboriginal figures, symbolizing the 4 great rivers of the country, is the statue of Dom Pedro, proclaimer of independence and the first emperor of Brazil. The Avenida Rio Branco ends at the Avenida Beira-Mar, a beautiful waterfront boulevard which follows the curving shore for more than 6 miles, and from it is had vista after vista of the familiar Sugarloaf rising beyond the Botafogo Bay. Along the Beira-Mar, which means seacoast in English, there are numerous bathing areas, crowded on pleasant days with Rio De Janeiroans. The most beautiful bathing site of Rio is the curving Copacabana Beach. Not many years ago, sand dunes and wilderness. Today it has been developed into one of the most desirable residential sections of the city, and the beach is a year-round playground for Brazilians and foreigners. The second of the 2 outstanding landmarks of Rio is the perpendicular rocky peak Corcovado, the Hunchback, which looks down upon the city from a height of 3,312 feet. Its summit is crowned by a colossal modern statue of the Christ, with arms outstretched in an attitude of welcome. From a lookout terrace at its base is had one of the world's most famous urban panoramas. Historians disagree as to who was the discoverer of Rio, but most give the honor to André Gonçalves, who entered the bay on January the 1st, 1502, and believing it to be the mouth of a great river, named the place Rio de Janeiro, River of January. Since the first permanent settlement in 1558, the shores of the Bay of Guanabara have slowly been changed from forest and jungle to become one of the great capitals of the world and one of the most beautiful cities of all time.